It says we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dive into World Building. And I'm just really hoping that I don't have weird audio stuff today. But I guess we'll see. Today we're talking about parties, which is like totally inappropriate for my mood today. So I have my fingers crossed.
But it is appropriate for the date. Today is September 22nd.
But I was thinking about that there are so many parties in my books. So
September 22nd.
Yeah, September 22nd is the birthday of Bilbo and Frodo Baggins. And of course, what is chapter one of Fellowship of the Ring? The party. So
the unexpected party.
So
well, there you go.
Well,
so I guess is
you didn't do that on purpose, did you, Juliet? I thought you might.
No, it was completely by accident. But I have many parties in there are birthdays in Mazes of Power and in Transgressions of Power. Because the Grobel are super into birthdays. Other people are not, but you know, the way that is. So yeah, so parties. We can definitely start with the unexpected party of Bilbo Baggins, 111th.
111th plus 33 for Frodo, making 144. So Bilbo invites 144 people, which sadly doesn't make it into the movie. It's a nice little bit of math that shows up in the book, but doesn't make it into the movie. They just say half the Shire's been invited. I thought you were going to do the math.
Let's not forget the numerology of Hobbit.
Yeah, I did. It's a nice little clever bit of numerology.
Yeah, I'm assuming that somebody assumed that most people wouldn't get. So, you know, of course, it's always possible that the movie makers didn't appreciate it, though.
That's a big party. 144 people. I mean, generally, unless something like a wedding, I've never been to a party that big.
Yeah, you know,
wedding reception as a party. Yeah.
Yeah, not
a birthday? Yeah, no.
Not a birthday, not a personal party, like a family and friends. It would be like an event. And what kind of
party? What kind of events do we have parties for?
We mentioned birthdays, anniversaries, weddings.
Yeah.
Engagements.
Yeah. And baby showers.
Bridal showers. Yeah.
Bridal showers.
Baby showers.
Bachelor parties.
Yeah.
And general engagement parties.
There are work connection, like schmoozy parties.
Oh yeah, like I call mandatory
parties.
Fun. Yes.
Retirement parties.
I
mean, I think in fact that America has a plethora of party occasions now just because of the massive marketing machine that is party supplies.
Gotta all use those up for something. There are parties that fall on a couple of holidays. New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah, that's a party holiday for sure. Christmas though isn't really a party.
No, that's usually a dinner, as is Thanksgiving.
Well, that's with family and friends. Office parties, especially if your office culture might be, get over it, you have to work through the holiday.
Yeah, office parties.
Christmas party.
Some office parties are very, very like highfalutin. Like they're very fancy.
Yeah.
And then there are convention parties.
Yes.
Which is its own whole genre of thing.
Yeah. And those are sort of you could have 144 people go through one of those, but not in the same room at the same time necessarily. Because people will wander through and wander out again, and some people will just sit and be at one party for the whole time. But since you've got, a floor or 2 floors full of parties with chocolate and tacos and whatever.
Mm-hmm. And those are often marketing parties too.
Right. Yeah,
we want you to support our WorldCon bid, or we want you to support
launch parties.
Launch parties.
Book launch parties. Yeah, I had one of those. Lucky me. It was right before the shutdown hit.
You got lucky, yes.
Yeah.
What else was I thinking of?
Graduation
But
parties.
you know, parties often appear in movies. Is bar mitzvahs a party? Is that considered a party?
You'll have a reception. That is.
So there's a party portion of it.
Yeah, and there, you know,
Like
there might
with
be
a wedding. The party is after.
Yeah.
the official part.
Yeah. So that,
Cool,
yeah, that's,
because the ceremony itself is not the party, right? It's the after bit.
yeah. It's not. Yeah, the B'nai Mitzvah, it's definitely not a party. It is a joyous occasion, a solemn occasion. It is.
Is it a ceremony?
And it depends on where you, what the customs of the particular congregation are. Some are very simple. You know, it's the celebrant just is the one who leads the service. Sometimes it's even as simple as you know, you read from the Torah instead of somebody else doing it. And sometimes the B'nai Mitzvah person is, you know, leads the whole service and writes a Dvar Torah, which is a discussion of the week's Torah portion. And you know, it's a special occasion, and it's the regular service. It's, you know, but there's something special about it because it is focused on welcoming this person into adulthood within the faith. And you know, there's food because Jews.
So I was trying to think about like the features of parties, right? Do parties always have food?
They're not much fun if they don't. Well, you know, but that's me. But I think so. Actually, I was thinking.
I'm trying to think exceptions that prove the rule, and they're very few.
There are very few parties where you wouldn't have food. What about alcohol, right? You're not going to have alcohol at a child's birthday party.
Yeah.
But college parties or frat parties would just not be themselves without alcohol.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
It is indeed. I always felt that way in college.
You know, I don't know, maybe it changes with, you know, different age cohorts, but you know, you're preferring to drink soda instead of beer. You know, in my day it was occasionally kind of not frowned upon, but you know, why aren't you drinking beer? Well,
Yeah,
I don't.
you got the
I don't
look,
feel like drinking
yes.
alcohol.
But
in fact, I did. But
social conventions about party participation.
Yeah.
And it's not always alcohol, but like whatever that party participation thing is, you better be doing it. Like piñatas or
dancing.
I hate piñatas at birthday parties, and everybody always like, no, you have to participate. Like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah. So yeah, I think parties without food at least some amount. I mean, it might be, you know, a bowl of chips, but
all the way up to the dinner party.
Yeah.
I mean, parties surrounded by, parties are explicitly dinners. Like, for example, on my Duff trip in 2017, when I visited Donna Marie Hansen in Canberra, she threw a dinner party for me and a bunch of science fiction people she knew.
Yeah.
She invited them all over.
Yeah,
it's like,
dinner parties definitely count as parties.
And that's definitely where food is the main object. I mean, I got to have pavlova,
Yay, pavlova!
Which New Zealand and Australia fight over, which actually invented and has rights to. It's a kind of cake, Morgan.
Okay.
So it's like
it's a big giant meringue with cream and fruit on top.
Usually kiwis. or something
It's
strippers.
amazing.
Yeah. Yes, it's really good.
I think
It's really, really light and amazing.
It's like a short. It's like what shortcake wants to be when it grows up. You know, like those shortcake things where you have
Yep.
the fruit and the fruit. It's like what
Yep.
that wants to be when it grows up is a pavlova.
I
okay.
see. Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, I think parties and food, part of it might be that you're gathering people for some period of time, and food and drink, you don't want people to go without food and drink, and you don't know when the last time people ate or had something to drink before they got to the party.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not conscience, I think, probably for most people, but
But it's a sign of hospitality. You're welcome. Way to welcome people is to offer them food and drink.
yeah, because these are essentials.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just because some people
Parties are
forget to
about
eat or drink.
hospitality for sure.
So
Yeah.
besides food and drink, let's see. You mentioned dancing, games of various kinds, board games, parlor games, things like that.
Yeah.
You could have small parties centered around, say, watching a sporting event. Let's have a Super Bowl party.
So
yeah.
Where do you see the border between a festival and a party?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think a festival is when it breaks the boundaries of a particular venue and spills out into a neighborhood or a.
Yeah, it's sort of like maybe a party has a fixed set of hosts,
whereas a festival has.
Whereas a festival is sort of more like an entire community.
Is block parties a thing in California?
Block parties, yes, those are a thing.
But block parties are almost like moving towards that border of a festival, because you get a bunch of people from different buildings doing things and hosting things and offering food. So it kind of walks up the line towards a full-on festival.
Yeah,
I think the block party can mean different, because the block parties we had when I was growing up were in the suburbs, not in the city, and they weren't. They took up space, in the streets, but I wouldn't have thought of it being a festival thing. It was sort of more, well, the grown-ups are going to be out on the street with the kids, actually maybe supervising, sort of, for a change.
Well, so maybe a festival also needs to have some kind of special occasion associated with it.
Yeah, like the Festival of San Gennaro in New York City, for example.
Yeah, like a holiday.
Which is an Italian, for a Italian saints feast, and everybody comes out, you buy your sausage and onions, you walk around, you buy things. Sausage, onions, and peppers on a bun with marinara sauce. That's the best.
Okay.
Until I miss it. Can I tell you I miss it?
I have been informed.
Music festivals.
Oh, yeah.
Woodstock is the quintessential example.
Okay, so music festivals are an exception to the holiday occasion sort of rule.
What is the difference between a music festival and a concert? A concert, I guess, is one
band and maybe one warm-up band, whereas a music festival is a range.
Yeah, a concert seems to be like, you get together, you have your concert, and then you leave, whereas a festival has an array of different musicians, maybe over a period of several days.
I mean, like an allied thing we didn't have any this year, obviously, but there's been the Twin Cities Book Festival the last few years, where we had authors and stuff come on various stages and talk, and you wander around, and there's all the booksellers. So it's the same sort of idea. There's a range of different people giving, music for a music festival. So versus just like one act or two acts at most.
Yeah.
And they last longer. I mean, a concert several hours, whereas the music festival is days. Yes.
Could be far more days than anybody really wants to be restricted from driving through the village. But that's
you may end up attending only a part of it.
Yeah. Or not attending it all and hearing it from your porch.
Oh,
All right.
sorry,
So
Morgan.
But no, but actually, that's they have adjuted the speakers.
so much like personal experience.
But yeah,
We're
yeah,
sharing
but not
today.
this year because they couldn't have this festival that invited huge crowds of people from all over to pack in together. So they weren't able to do that. And I think a lot of places, which is another question about festivals and maybe parties, is, ostensibly the point of a party is to get together with other people. It's a social occasion of one kind or another.
Yeah, I think it's about getting
Festivals,
together with people.
yeah. And I think this made the festivals are about the thing that you all share an interest in.
Well, so there
Yeah.
is
But
there
also
a guest of honor?
Hmm?
Like at a birthday party, there's kind of a guest of honor, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at a retirement party, there's a guest of honor.
Yeah.
So like there are a good many types of parties, like bridal showers and baby showers, etc., that have guests of honor.
Yeah. Well, here's
Right?
another thing.
But like a dinner party doesn't have guests of honor.
Well,
No.
exception was the one I was given.
Yeah, that is not
These are
a required component, though.
Right.
But there are some parties like wedding showers and baby showers, and birthday parties, housewarming parties that are celebrate the event, but also, you walk away from a baby shower with something that will help you with your child. It just cuts the expenses and you have advice or things that you didn't know you needed because people brought these gifts.
Right.
Festivals,
Gifts is a whole other topic.
yeah, but a lot of festivals, I think, and I don't always think about that, but they bring in a lot of revenue for the area where they're thrown.
Right, because they're casting a wide net.
Yeah, and a lot of towns. So, I don't know how that relates to a discussion of parties, but I think it's a thing when you're writing a story and you're having a festival. Think about what is the festival for and who does it benefit, because they cost money to put on. They cost money or time or energy, or they use resources. So what do you get back for spending?
Well, this is reminding me of the question of fairs, right? Like trade fairs and stuff. So those are a totally different kind of thing. But I'm not sure. I think that's maybe another borderline of party.
Yeah, I think that's a different podcast, as they say.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think the things.
Knowing.
Yeah, but the things that you get back for an expenditure of resources for a party aren't monetary necessarily. It's
like
the social
typically
contact.
Birthdays, people typically bring gifts and receive favors, right?
Yeah, sometimes, particularly for kids.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. But you can have a party and say, look, I don't want you to bring any gifts. I just want my friends to come and celebrate my birthday with me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's still a party. And the recovery, the benefit of the party is being with people, being with these particular people.
So like at a Japanese wedding reception, the guests bring money. They don't bring gifts. They receive gifts. So the favors are actually, there are sort of favors, I guess, but they're usually pretty big favors, like big gifts. But in return, they bring money for the couple, which is another, it just sort of says that there are a lot of permutations of how you can do exchanges of gifts, exchanges of whatever.
Is a potluck
there are
party.
things that go with certain types of parties and songs that go with certain types of parties.
Yeah.
There are songs that go with festivals as well, especially, I mean, lots of Japanese festivals have special songs that go with them. Sorry, my internet was unstable.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. But here's another difference between festivals and parties. Parties have and guest lists. Unless you're talking about my folks are out of town and I'm having a party and it gets completely out of hand and I didn't invite all these people where they come from.
Right?
Right. But there's the phrase crashing a party, which
Typically, right.
you can't crash a
who's
festival,
coming
you
to
crash
the
a party.
Well, you can if there's an admission fee,
Yes, but it's not generally.
but it's not. But anybody who can pay the fee is welcome at the festival. And then there are street festivals like the Ithaca Fest, where if you can hardly avoid it. So if you actually
like, the wine and cheese festival where we celebrate these things and we wander through and create large traffic jams.
So speaking of parties, I'm fashionably late to this one. Was doing some parenting.
Good stuff.
My 4-year-old just like hopped on me at 4 o'clock and wanted hugs. And who was I to say no?
Yeah, that's
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
To Rob, by the way.
But we can also talk about how one arrives at parties.
Yes.
How late do you arrive to a party in your area?
The phrase is the phrase fashionably late. Yeah.
So my dad likes to show up early to parties, and my mom has literally repeatedly made him drive around the block until the posted start time for the party actually occurs. I have long had the policy that if you show up early to a party that I am throwing, you have volunteered to help me with the final setup.
Yeah.
My favorite party in all of fiction is Bilbo's 11st birthday party,
which is today, since it's
which is after
So we start.
Yep, and an epic fantasy too. So hey, I think all the best. There's a wonderful novella by Roger Zelazny, whose name escapes me, but it's about a group called The Party Set. And it's a group of people who have agreed to be at a continuous party. But the continuous party is only continuous for them because they party for a day or two, and then they go into cryonic suspension for a number of years, and then they wake up and party again. And thus they go forward centuries in time while everyone else around them ages and dies and is born and ages and dies.
The graveyard
Whatever.
heart.
Thank you. That's it. Yes.
I'm getting
And there is, in fact, a novel, I think a novella by Walter John Williams that is a sequel to that, which came out. They did it was like the Ace doubles, but it wasn't quite. It wasn't, I don't think it was Ace. But what they did is they would take a classic science fiction story and then have an authorized sequel by a different writer and then package them together as a paperback. And I have an edition of The Graveyard Heart that has a sequel by Walter John Williams, which is really cool.
And that is Elegy for Angels and Dogs.
Thank you.
So timing, definitely if you show up early, you should be put to work. And I'm definitely getting an echo. What do you wear? If you're throwing a party, do you tell people what to wear? Or, some range of what to wear? I mean, there's...
Or are you supposed to know before you arrive?
Yeah, that is, I mean, black tie.
Do you sure?
This is a black tie party?
Some occasions at which you have to wear very specific kinds of things, like Halloween parties.
Yeah. And thinking of parties in your book, which for some reason my brain is blanking on. Mazes.
Maze of Power.
Mazes of Power. Yes, Maze of Power. Sorry. Yeah, like I said, a little underslept. How you party during a pandemic.
Yeah, or
You know,
not, as the case
You know,
We're
and
doing
what
it
you-
right now,
what do you-
man.
What do you wear?
This is a
What do
party.
you wear to a party? And actually, we were talking about the industry party hats and party favors and all that stuff. You know, if they are not happy birthday masks, they are definitely missing something. You know.
Well, so I will give you a sneak peek into book 2, because in book 1 you see birthday parties, and in book 2 they have a corporate party
Oh joy.
at a paper merchant's place, and decorate for parties other than having a nice home in a global situation. But at this corporate parties for the paper merchants, oh, there goes my internet. At the corporate party for the paper merchants, they have the entire warehouse decorated extravagantly with paper that they are planning to recycle afterwards, because paper is actually too expensive in foreign to be practicable as a decorative thing beyond the core paper merchants party zone.
So that is a display of it's an extravagance,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
is a whole other thing about a party. Is it's what are you showing?
And it's also disorienting for people who are not accustomed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the global characters who are at the party are like, I can hardly tell what I'm looking at. But that visual confusion is actually part of a great many parties, at least in our world, right? Where you'll have confetti, or you'll have streamers, or you'll have some kind of visual sort of celebratory static.
Oh,
Right.
I just thought of another kind of party we haven't talked about, like say galas, like because you talk about the paper and stuff. I suddenly went and thought about Ocean's 8, and that it's like, oh yeah, the reception at the Met, that's a party, that's a gala, that's
Okay.
Yeah.
The Met Gala.
Fundraisers.
Yeah.
fundraisers, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a category.
And that's also, you dress up, you're seen to be seen. You may not know everybody there, but you're there at a party to make a statement, which is not what you
Yeah, and
normally
that's
do for
almost
other
like
parties.
there's almost the expectation that whoever's at that particular type of party will be seen by others who are not present and not invited to the party.
Yes. Look how great I am. I go to the Met Gala sort of thing.
Well, it reminds me of the ball, right?
Yes, that's the fantasy
Prince
equivalent, the
Ball.
ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Do you
how
get
do
to go to the ball,
how
and
do you
who's
crash
going
that
to the
ball?
ball?
Which parties do you have to take a partner to?
Mm.
And what if you don't have someone to go to a party with, and it's one of those parties where you're supposed to have somebody?
The whole idea of the plus one. We expected to
Yeah.
have somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a party that you have to go to with a date, like a prom.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
That's a kind of
allegedly
party.
about dancing.
But it's also
Allegedly.
It's a promenade.
yeah, it's also a
promenade
story
for
about
couples.
boundaries.
It's about
and
being
thresholds.
seen.
Yeah.
And dressing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in many ways this is about, the display of wealth and power.
Coming out parties,
Yeah.
coming out parties as in the previous sense that, debutante balls.
Debutante balls, yeah.
Well, yeah.
The fantasy ball is like going to a bar almost. It's like a matchmaking party. Right? I mean,
Right, because you're generally not going there with a partner, at least in the classic fairy tale.
Well, I mean, all the
Cinderella sense.
eligible ladies are invited because the princess is gonna pick one. I mean, how weird is that? We get introduced to it so early that we probably don't question it a lot. But like, that's really strange.
And then gets
Well-
flipped on its head into modern day with like something like The Bachelor. It's like
There are
yeah, we
life
do-
life event parties, right? Like baby namings and bat mitzvah, coming out
Mhm.
parties, like you said, weddings, wakes are a sort of
Wakes
end of
we
life
hadn't-
event party.
we hadn't
yeah, we
mentioned
didn't talk
there-
about
there-
weeks. We didn't talk about weeks.
Yeah.
There
we-
are parties that say very interesting things about the culture that has them. For example, a bris is a kind of a unique party, right? Like, let's go celebrate removing the foreskin off the
Or it's
baby's
a
penis.
ceremony.
Yeah, I guess.
But
I
there's
can-
also a party. You invite people over,
Yeah.
you have a nosh. It's Jewish, you eat.
See, that's
you
what I
know,
said. That's what I said.
You gotta eat.
Mhm. But that, that's a thing. I mean, if you are not, yeah, I guess food is a party thing pretty much for everything.
So,
Even the
so
bris,
here's
yeah.
one of the things that I've often mulled over. What do you do if you are not in the position to have a lot of food access and you have a party? Like, do you not have a party? Or do you go to the end of your financial rope in order to feed people? Or
There's
do you
also-
have
there-
everybody bring food?
potlucks, stone soup,
Mhm.
where the community comes together and brings the food to have the party.
But
I-
that's when you have a community that is in a similar economic situation.
Generally, yes, everybody's in the same
Yeah.
boat, so everyone's pulling together.
But if you happen to be the only one in your social group, or what is or is supposed to be or was your social group,
Mhm.
and for some reason you don't have the wherewithal to throw these parties, I guess some people will just, they'll go beyond their financial means to throw the party and hope nobody knows. To hide the fact
Well,
that
I
they
mean,
don't- I mean, that's a plot point.
so this is actually an interesting question, right? Because this is the kind of stuff that I find the most interesting is these thorny social questions that get raised when we're talking about something like parties, right? If everyone in your circle is a little more well off than you and there's a tradition of having parties at one another's houses, how much are you willing to scrape to be a part of that circle, right? Cinderella has that same element, right? Where it's like, I don't have a dress for the ball and I'm gonna just kind of take this old thing and redo it. I mean, that redoing dresses for a new party was a really big deal. Like, people did it a lot. They'd
Yeah.
be like, I'm just gonna take the trim off and then I'm gonna change this to something else and it'll look completely new.
No one will know. Even redying fabric, take a wedding dress and dye it something other than white, because conveniently it's already white, and then shorten it, take trim, whatever, blah, 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 make a party dress out of it. Or my favorite, in the Carol Burnett show parody of Gone with the Wind, where she looks at the curtains and she decides to make the dress and she comes down the stairs with the curtain rod across her shoulders, and Red Butler's like, where did you get that? And she's like, oh, I saw it in the window and I couldn't resist.
Not a lie.
It was awesome.
The wedding, the refurbished wedding dress thing is a little different. For one thing, in order to do that, you have to have a wedding dress.
Yeah.
And for another thing, wedding dresses can be, in some circles, hideously expensive. And why would you not, if you can do something to use it again? Because otherwise you're spending this insane amount of money for a dress you wear once. Or if, other ways to do that, or to, to hand it down.
Mm-hmm.
pass it along. So
Yep. I mean, if you have a wedding dress and you say don't have daughters or nieces, or a sister to give it to, then the only use for it, other than hanging it in the closet where it is very beautiful and very expensive, is to dye it and reuse it.
well,
So
Yeah.
this made me think of something else. Like sewing circles and stuff. Do those count as parties? Like, do you have craft parties or like hand-me-down?
Sure. You know what else counts as parties? Executions. Public executions. Bring a picnic lunch.
Oh yeah.
but sewing circles, I'm going to disagree about sewing circles.
Okay.
I mean, there's not to say that you can't have a party that is craft related, but I would not call my knitting group a party. We get together every week, and sure, there's food, or at least with the meeting in person, there was food. And honestly, that's the thing I miss the most, because we meet on Zoom. But it's not a
is it
party.
the frequency that makes it not a party, or what differentiates it from a party?
It's not, it is not a celebration of anything. We get together, we talk about stuff. Sometimes we talk about the things we're making. I mean, usually the conversation ranges all over. And usually somebody's working, at least one person is working on some needlework thing. So,
Yeah, I thought it was another type of party.
But it's, there's
Party.
food, but it doesn't feel, I wouldn't call it a party. I mean, it happens every week. It doesn't feel like a party to me.
Is a science fiction convention, I mean, they have parties, but
Yeah, we
is a
talked
science
about those.
fiction
Yeah.
convention a party?
No.
Okay.
So
No.
tea parties.
Are tea parties parties? I assume so.
Well, they're called tea parties, so they are parties. It's clear.
Yeah.
Well, are pity parties parties? They're also called parties.
Well, okay, but I think we may have stumbled on the etymology of the party, because party is also a group of people.
An
Right?
adventuring party.
Yep.
Party of 3, party of 5, party of 2.
The Donner Party was not a party.
But there was food.
Right, exactly. That was not a party.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you don't want to be the one that brought the food.
Everybody brought the food. It was a question of who was going to take it. Anyway.
Oh my, here I
God.
am just raising everything up to a higher level here. That's my job.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my dad would say that lowered the level.
Oh, so that's a good thing about etymology. What is the etymology of the word party? It originally comes from the Latin partire, divide into parts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
And that's what it is.
Well, in that case, the Donner Party definitely applies.
But that, I mean, that is it. A political party is a group of people divided from another group of people. That separates themselves from other people. A party, a birthday party, is a group of people that have separated from, or come together, separated from other people.
Well, I think maybe, so the question is it the separation between the party and other people? Or is it that it is made up of parts?
I think it's separation. I mean, hence part, again, we were saying before, party crashing, where you're breaking that separation when you're not supposed to, when you haven't been invited to become part of that divided part.
It's a sort of a subgroup, except it's not, because you can get people from different larger groups and they come together. It's a separation and a coming together, and just in sort of a reforming Like,
Yeah, I think we may
Yeah.
be going through a bit of circular logic if we try to parse out whether it's the separation or the
yeah, but it's not
internal
circular
separation.
though. It's sort of amorphous. It's sort of, I wanted to say something about,
It's like an organelle inside of a cell. The cell
Thank you.
is the, yeah. So it's a subdivision within the cell.
But
There
like
you
a
go.
block party is everyone on the block.
maybe.
Right, but it's just everyone on the block. It's not people from half a mile away. Unless you,
So what
unless you
makes a bachelor party and a bridal shower a shower?
bridal
Well,
they're
shower
all
is a party.
parties. They're all parties.
They're all parties. They all count as parties. But
Yeah.
I mean, showering is because you're showering the person with gifts.
Or I'll accept that. I accept that.
Yeah.
So the emotional register of parties can be very, very drastically different. And the reason I bring this up is because I'm always looking for an opportunity to have something that people think they know how it works, and then have the emotional register of it be something different, or have some social aspect of it be different from what we would expect, right? There's a birthday party in book 1 and there's a birthday party in book 2, and the birthday party in book 1 is a political birthday party, and the birthday party in book 2 is a non-political birthday party. So they are very different from one another, and neither one of them looks anything like a party at a birthday party that we do.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
So there's no hokey pokey?
no.
That's what it's all about.
Oh my gosh. What was that anyway? Was that just a roller rink thing? Or was it older?
The hokey pokey? No, I mean, I don't remember when it started. It was there when I was a kid. I don't know how much older it is than that.
Yeah, but I encountered it at roller rinks. So
The roller rinks were the like the last repository of cheese, and so anything that had been cheesy 5 years earlier was now at a roller rink, right? So, it fit.
Huh.
Pizza party.
But I hokey pokeyed outside of roller rinks at parties when I was a kid.
Interesting.
Yeah, we called it a pizza party because
Yeah.
people are gathering together,
Yeah.
getting pizzas. Again, that's food again, but that's a really specific kind of party, or an ice cream party.
Yeah,
But I'm
Ice
trying
cream
to think,
socials.
ice cream
Sometimes-
socials, yes.
Yeah.
ice cream socials. Those are often fundraisers too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And there's also, there's those parties. It's not one of those parties, whatever those is for the world you're building. No, it's one of those parties, not one of those.
Well, sex parties.
Yeah, I was saying is an orgy.
I
an
wasn't
orgy is
going
a
to say that
party, right?
explicitly,
Yeah.
but you went there.
Well, so actually one of the quarantine hotels in Sydney got in huge trouble because there were people having sex parties there.
That's
Oh,
kind of
no.
the opposite of quarantine.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, it's funny because maybe I deep down wanted to have this conversation today because I'm missing seeing people.
I mean, you joke, but parties are a way to see people, especially if you don't get to see them all the time. It's a way to socialize, and Zoom is fine and all, but it's not quite the same. I mean, it wasn't. Garden party. I mean, last Saturday I was at a small, socially distant garden party of people I hadn't seen our local writers group in months. It was nice to see them,
Lovely.
even if
Yeah.
they're 6 feet away with a mask. It feels like, yay! I'm in physical space with somebody who's not a coworker or somebody at the grocery
I was
store.
at a lovely party last weekend where the hostess set up little end tables at distances, and we each got one.
That's
And we
clever.
sat out in the garden at our little tiny tables, and it was kind of adorable.
Yeah, that's lovely.
So
That's
it's
a
nice
whole
to be
other thing,
creative.
seating parties. Is there seating? What kind of seating is there?
Seating. Of course, at a dinner party, yeah, seating would be a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Seating
seating
charts.
could be a whole
Seating
power
charts,
struggle.
Oh,
yes.
feeding charts. Oh yeah.
Who gets to sit next to whom?
And how do you prevent certain people from sitting together?
Yeah, who's at your
Um,
table? You know what was funny? At our wedding reception, we had a whole bunch of people from Japan. And we were worried that they would all sit at the same table and not talk to anyone else at the party. So when we were assigning seats, we assigned them to 2 different tables. And we also assigned friends of ours who spoke Japanese to those same tables, so that they would have people not only to talk to, but people who could help them talk to other people.
Yeah.
So if you're having a multilingual party, that has its own interesting wrinkles that you can think through.
Mm-hmm.
Or a multi-species party. There's a novel by Ian Banks, Accession. I don't know if anyone has read that.
I
It
haven't read
starts
that
with
particular
an
things.
starts with a dinner party by an alien species called the Affront, and a human ambassador from the culture is at the Affront's party, and it is hilarious. There is a body count, but it is still hilarious because it's an affront party, and all affront parties involve a body count.
Yeah.
Diplomatic parties where diplomats schmooze and meet and that's so that
Mm-hmm.
and then do business together. Do a little business together, yes.
And then there's also that party that says we got through it, right? Like the finished project.
After parties.
Wrap party.
After parties, yeah.
After parties, or
Wrap
like
parties.
or like completion of our joint project party.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of insanity, I say that in the completely metaphorical sense, at said party depends on just how difficult it was to get through the project.
And how much sleep you have between the completion of the project and the party.
Yeah, or stressful fight. I'm expecting once this is long behind us, there's going to be some epic parties to celebrate.
Epic parties.
And this COVID, yeah, and after the epidemic, because people are going to want to celebrate.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Like, we survived the thing. We got through this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking
The cast parties too.
in November I could be
That's true.
having some good parties.
Oh yes, well yes, that goes back to political parties again. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So parties are.
I will never forget election day in 2016, because I went to a party that was supposed to be, a Clinton victory party, and it was very grim and depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes back to the like what the tone of parties and what parties are for.
Right.
And when Tony's
Like I'm
parties go
expecting
south.
something like a wedding, and I got something like a funeral, but it was still, being around other people was still helpful.
Well, and
Well,
there's always
that's what
that,
awakens.
there's always that element where you're at a party with a lot of people. I may have lost my internet somehow.
We still hear you.
We can hear you, but you're.
I can hear you, but I
You're
can't see you.
freezy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're wheezy and freezy.
But you can keep talking. Maybe.
Oh.
The
now-
party lost the host. Oh, she's
Oh,
back.
And but the host is back.
Hey, I'm back.
Ready to
The host is
party.
The hostess with the mostest.
Blink, blink.
We're having a Zoom party right
We're
here,
trying.
right now.
Yep. Oh, I was trying to have a thought, and then my internet died.
And you can't think without the internet.
Well, I can't think
It
out
is
loud
known.
without the internet. Never mind.
So there's also in literature those extreme examples where a party of one has a party, right? Like the person trapped on a desert island celebrating something,
Mm,
right? Like,
yeah.
oh, I just survived wrestling a giant octopus right outside in the lagoon, and I'm gonna throw myself a party to celebrate,
Yeah,
with
I
my
think
homemade hoops
there's
and all
a
that.
feeling of exceptionalism that is striking almost because it doesn't count as a party normally.
Yeah, but like, right? Like, did anyone ever see the movie The Quiet Earth?
I've read the book.
I haven't read the book. In the movie, it's this guy wakes up and he's by himself. Everyone, all other humans have vanished. And at one point, he just throws himself a party.
Yeah, that's right out of the book. Yeah, because
Yeah, and he even gets, at one point he decides to give a speech. So he gets a bunch of, I think, either 6 foot tall cutouts or actual store mannequins and arranges them in the lawn and stands out on the balcony of a wealthy house that he has commandeered and gives the speech to a bunch of the mannequins, which is a bit like, Major League Baseball now playing to cutouts of fans in the bleachers, which they are literally doing.
The other thing I was going to mention is that just because you're at a large event like a party with a lot of people doesn't mean you actually feel like you're part of the event.
and indeed you may not be if you party, I mean socially, physically, or you've party crashed. I was just suddenly thinking of Die Hard as a Christmas party. And
yeah, there's that sort of it's my party, I can cry if I want to, sort of thing that can happen, or that I feel excluded by everybody here sort of thing. So there's a lot of social complication that can happen at parties. It took me a long time to figure out how to write large group interactions. I enjoy them now, but like, that's one of the things that I find really interesting, is that how these large group interactions can become so complicated in a party. And so in fact, there's always a potential for conflict and interest when you have people coming together, especially when there's an ostensible purpose for the party, and then maybe something else will be going on.
There's always something else going on.
Another one of the culture novels by Ian Banks, the very first one, Consider Phlebas, opens with a party. And the guest of honor of the party is being executed by the party. So the party is the main character, Horza, has been tied up and thrown into a sealed chamber. And the sealed chamber is the end result of the plumbing in the mansion. And they're having a big party when he is allegedly the guest of honor of the party, and he is drowning in excrement from the party guests. That's how the novel opens.
Oh crap!
And with full. I mean, this is a Scotsman writing this book. They have a very, I'm told, scatological sense of humor. But that is. I mean, Ian Banks makes the point that he is the guest of honor at the party.
That's funny. All right.
It was kind of gross and hilarious. But he's rescued. He makes it to chapter 2. That's a spoiler.
So adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for being at my party.
It's always a pleasure, Juliet.
No, really?
Yes.
It's my party, and I'll zoom if I want to.
Zoom.
Okay, so I am really trying to say goodbye. I think we may have an after party, but I'm having difficulty with my internet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop our streaming, and then we'll see how we go. Thank you all for